As the archive started to arrive in New York, we tried to think of what might be the first topic. I thought, first of all, Frank Lloyd Wright's relationship to the city and to New York was relevant to celebrate and to reflect. Wright, who we associate with the houses, with suburbs, with the nature, and with an anti-urban decentralization approach, never stopped designing skyscrapers. In a certain way, once he hit upon the idea of the taproot central pole for his skyscraper with St. Mark's and the Bowery for New York, unrealized project, he never stopped redesigning that skyscraper for 30 years. So here we have a figure who is for 30 years elaborating a manifesto for a decentralized, dispersed city to be called Broadacre, and is developing a skyscraper that ultimately goes from being 18 stories to over 500 stories and a mile high in the same time period. So what is that? Ambivalence, tension, contradiction, something we can resolve? And so the show asks that question historically about one of our greatest architects. Broadacre is not commissioned, so it's in the tradition of thinking of an ideal city. Paradoxically, the model emphasizes nature and the proximity to nature. Of course, the fundamental Broadacre is that here we are in the heart of the Depression. Each American family is to be given 1 acre for their homestead. And yet, once you start to look at the model, there are dispersed over it individual towers. One very, very tall one, which is the county office building, and then medium height ones, which are versions of the St. Mark's in the Bowery project, which had been canceled by the time the Broadacre model is developed and displayed, fascinatingly enough, for the first time in Rockefeller Center as it's nearing completion. So you have a model that proposes skyscrapers should not be crowded into city blocks, into a city grid. Rather, they should go to my grid, which is several miles wide, has highways, and begins to disperse everything almost laterally and horizontally rather than concentrating all of these vertical gestures. Maybe the resolution for Wright is the skyscraper isn't the problem, it's the clustering of skyscrapers. The first residential tower, and the only residential tower that he's able to build right after the war, is in a relatively small city, Bartlesville, Oklahoma, in northeastern Oklahoma, in this beautiful rolling landscape there. But now it's a hotel. Originally it was apartments on one side and offices. And if you wake up in that hotel, as I had the pleasure of doing, and you put your head up on the pillow to see if you can see out the window, at that point, and I woke up at sunrise, I saw the sun rising over these hills. And it was absolutely phenomenal, panoramic landscape view. And, oh, that's what it's about. That's the one thing that he doesn't show us in the Broadacre model, is what would it be like to live in one of these towers? And suddenly the idea that the tower for Wright is not antithetical to the landscape, it's a kind of heightened experience of the landscape, occurred to me. For one thing, I hope the same thing I always hope, that is people will walk out of the Museum of Modern Art and look at the streetscape and the city and the buildings around them in a very, very different way, and that they'll start to look even at their daily surroundings with some of the attention that they might pay to in the gallery. And then I hope that they think that these drawings, which at first access might say, I don't know how to read a drawing like that the sequencing of them here provides an entry into some of the architectural thought and the complex thinking that's embodied in these drawings, such that they become fascinating for viewers, and also they think this is but the tip of the iceberg of this extraordinary archive. I have to stay tuned for what the Museum of Modern Art in Columbia are doing next with this astounding resource. We're planning a big exhibition for 2017, so stay tuned.